Right now, there's another escalation in the Middle East. An American warship intending to pass through the Strait of Hormuz was fired upon by Iranian forces near the port of Jask. Iran fired missiles at the American ship and warned that it would sink the Americans. At the same time, the United States Central Command stated that 2 merchant ships sailing under the American flag did cross the Strait of Hormuz today, amid the presence of U.S. Navy guided missile destroyers in the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, oil prices started rising again in anticipation of the U.S. response to Iran's missile attack on their ship. In addition, it is reported that Iran attacked the United Arab Emirates today with 4 missiles and drones. 3 missiles were successfully shot down over the territorial waters of the Emirates and 1 more fell. My name is Alexei Pechi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start this episode, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and leave any comment under this video. Well, let's get started. So, U.S. President Donald Trump stated that starting Monday, the U.S. Navy began escorting foreign ships through the Strait of Hormuz, and he warned that if Iran tries to disrupt this process, the American military will use force. The move, which Trump called Project Freedom, is the most significant step his administration has taken in an attempt to reopen the key strait since Iran closed it at the start of the war. Essentially, the U.S. promises to escort ships through the strait, protecting them with warships, but on the very first day, everything didn't go according to plan. Iranian sources said that an American warship intending to pass through the Hormuz Strait was fired upon today by Iranian forces near the port of Jask. This was reported by the Iranian news agency Fars. At the same time, a high-ranking official in Tehran told Reuters that Iranian forces fired a warning shot at the U.S. ship to prevent it from entering the strait, but it is unclear whether any damage was caused. At the same time, the U.S. Central Command denied reports that the American ship was hit by missiles, but did not deny the fact of the shelling itself. Iranian state television reported that the Iranian Navy prevented U.S. ships from entering the Hormuz area. The Tasnim agency reported a statement from an unnamed official source that Tehran is ready not only to open fire on the U.S. Navy, but also to activate other scenarios if necessary. And against this backdrop, the United Arab Emirates came under fire again today. There seemed to be a ceasefire, but today Iran once again launched 4 missiles at the territory of the Emirates. In addition, the Emirates accused Iran of attacking the empty oil tanker Baraka, which belongs to the state oil company Abu Dhabi National Oil, using drones. At the moment when it was trying to pass through the Hormuz Strait, Tehran, on the other hand, had previously warned that it cautioned American ships not to try to enter the Hormuz Strait and not to help tankers or merchant vessels pass through it. At the same time, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the start of an operation to escort ships that were trapped in the Persian Gulf. Here is a quote. We have informed the countries that we will escort their ships out of the blocked waters so that they can freely and fully continue their voyages. The U.S. Central Command reported that 15,000 military personnel and more than 100 aircraft, ships, and drones will take part in the operation. The goal of this operation is to restore freedom of navigation for commercial shipping through the strait. At the same time, the blockade of Iran itself remains in place. I should also note that hundreds of cargo ships with 20,000 sailors on board have been drifting in the Gulf for 2 months now, unable to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which has been effectively blocked by Iran. Shortly after Trump's announcement, one of the tankers was fired upon with rockets in the Strait of Hormuz. This was reported by the UK Maritime Trade Operations. Let me add that none of the tanker crew members were injured. In response to the words of the American president, the leadership of Iran's armed forces demanded that commercial vessels and oil tankers refrain from any movement without coordination with Tehran. The head of Iran's Joint Command, Ali Abdullahi, stated, and I quote, "We have repeatedly said that the security of the Hormuz Strait is exclusively in our hands, and that the safe passage of vessels must be coordinated solely with our armed forces. We warn that any foreign military, especially the aggressive U.S. Army, will be attacked if they attempt to approach or enter the Hormuz Strait." But the US does have some initial successes. The US Army Central Command reported that 2 merchant ships flying the American flag crossed the Hormuz Strait today amid the presence of US Navy guided missile destroyers in the Persian Gulf. Nevertheless, oil prices immediately began to rise on Monday due to the lack of a peace agreement between Washington and Tehran. And despite the US statement that they will help escort the ships blocked in the Persian Gulf through the Hormuz Strait, Brent crude oil futures rose to nearly $110 per barrel, while WTI reached $103. But after today's news, prices are predictably likely to go even higher, especially since Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has published a new map of the Strait of Hormuz area showing the waterway as being completely under the control of Iranian armed forces. For their part, the US Navy is still trying to enter the strait and protect ships from attacks, but it's too early to say that either side is winning this standoff. Therefore, until there is a clear and stable solution that allows for the restoration of normal shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, oil prices are likely to remain high, and the risks will continue to be tilted toward further price increases. Meanwhile, the group of oil-producing countries, OPEC, agreed on Sunday to a small increase in oil production quotas for June, but the increase is expected to remain mostly on paper. Again, because of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. The volume corresponds to the increase in production for May, minus the share of the United Arab Emirates, which left the cartel on May 1, so there is essentially no progress here. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation or a paid channel membership using the links and details in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.